Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Happy Friday Eve. We're almost there. Hope you're in a good mood. If not, I'm going to get you there. I've got lots of great, exciting news and guests for you, per usual today. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. I've got some electrifying news stories for you. They're going to shake up the political landscape today. Last night, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, a rising star in the Republican Party, has officially announced his candidacy for President of the United States. I could hear a lot of people saying, yeah, they were excited. But then there was this other group of people last night that were very clearly not happy about it. The announcement didn't go as smoothly as planned. The new owner of Twitter, Elon Musk, accidentally botched Governor DeSantis's announcement for there was a wave of technical glitches that left his chief opponent, former President Donald Trump, and his supporters roaring with laughter and jeers online. Yeah, they thought it was pretty funny. But fear not, fellow patriots. Here on the Wake Up America show, we rise above the chaos and embrace the freedom of information. Today, we'll be dissecting this news story from every angle, discussing the implications that it holds for our great nation, and exploring the potential impact on the upcoming presidential race. We've got a stellar lineup of guests, per usual, including top political analysts, campaign strategists, and even some surprise appearances from those in the know. Together, we'll uncover the truth, separate fact from fiction, and bring you the insightful analysis you've come to expect from the Wake Up America show. So get ready, buckle up. We're about to embark on a thrilling journey that will leave you informed, inspired, and ready to make your voice heard. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's rise and embrace the spirit of freedom together. Stay tuned. Wake Up America starts right now. Last night, after appearing on last night, Governor Ron DeSantis appeared on Fox News to explain why the technical glitches prevented him from getting his campaign off to the right start. He appeared on Fox News last night. Let's take a listen to what he had to say when asked about the technical glitches that sort of botched the opening of his campaign. How did he respond?
We had a huge audience. It was the biggest they'd ever had. It did break the Twitter space. And so we're really excited with the enthusiasm. But ultimately, it's about the future of our country. Trey, I'm running to lead a great American comeback. We know the country's on the wrong track. We see it with our eyes. We feel it in our bones. We see the border being overrun. We see crime infesting the cities. We see the federal government making it more difficult for families to make ends meet. And we have a president who is a listless vessel, not energetic, and not dealing with the key challenges that are facing our country. But it does not have to be this way. Our decline as a country is not inevitable. It is a choice, and I think we can choose a better pathway. And so what I will do is help restore normalcy to our communities, integrity to our institutions, and sanity.
Normalcy. How about that? Wouldn't you like it? Wouldn't you like to return to a sense of normalcy? I would like that. Hot Water 84 over there. She's given the boo today. She says DeSantis had zero energy, zero charisma. That sounds like the kind of thing maybe a Trump supporter might say. I'd love to hear your thoughts over there. Yeah, maybe you're feeling this right now in the background.
From now on, it's going to be America first. Okay, America first.
A lot of Trump supporters last night. Let's finish. Let Ron DeSantis finish his statement here, and then we can hear from Trump's people on the back end.
To our society, truth needs to be the foundation of everything we do, and common sense can no longer be an uncommon virtue. We proved it could be done in Florida. We chose facts over fear when it wasn't popular. We chose education over indoctrination. And we've chosen law and order over rioting and disorder. If we can do it there, we can do it for the country. And the pledge I'll make for people is simply this. We need to win again as Republicans. We got to dispense with this culture of losing. And if you nominate me, I pledge to you that on January 20th, 2025 at high noon, that I'll be the guy on the west side of the Capitol with the left hand on the Bible and the right hand in the air, taking the oath of office as the 47th president of the United States. No more excuses. We've got to get this one done. And anybody that's so inclined to help us, I would love to have your support at rondesantis.com. If you make a donation, maybe we can break that part of the internet as well.
I know what Trump supporters are thinking right now. They're saying,
we are led by very, very stupid people. very, very stupid people.
That's right. You guys are already cracking me up this morning with your comments.
Let it continue.
Sunshine Coolwater over on YouTube says Elon train wrecked the interview because he really supports Marianne Williamson. Very funny, very funny. No, God, no. It can't be. Well, the Trump supporters had their day. The MAGA War Room released a video last night, rebuttal to Ron DeSantis announcing his campaign for president of the United States. What are they saying about Ron DeSantis? Take a listen.
2016, President Trump defeats the liberals and heads to Washington to drain the swamp. But swamp creature Ron DeSantis is about to start his third term in Congress, and he's already voted repeatedly to cut Social Security and Medicare.
Wait, what? That's swamp behavior, cutting Social Security and Medicare. That's the swamp. I'm sorry about that with Trump supporters, but
How dare you?
You can be upset all you want, but we libertarians are kind of like, oh my goodness, that's kind of sexy. Anyway, continue.
2017, Trump passes huge tax cuts for nearly everyone. And Ron DeSantis, he's pushing a bill that would swap those tax cuts for a new 23% national sales tax, making families pay more.
Boo. Don't know if that's true, but maybe it was.
2018, Trump is building the wall, securing the border, fighting the invasion, while Ron DeSantis is voting against funding for Trump's wall.
Build that wall. Build that wall. Build that wall. Build that wall. Build that wall. Build that wall.
Trump supporters.
Build that wall.
They're in our heads.
Build that wall.
They're in our heads. Sorry. Let's continue.
One was a leader, and one let us down. Even DeSantis admitted there are big differences between him and Trump.
Obviously there is, because I've not voted contrary to him in the Congress.
It is obvious, Ron. President Trump is the only one ready on day one
to hurt you, Ron.
for us again. Make America Great Again, Inc. is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Make America Great Again, Inc. is responsible for the content of that advertising. Well, what did you think of the Ron DeSantis announcement? I'd love to hear your thoughts. You can text the show today at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. Have I got an awesome guest lineup for you today at 7:30 a.m. today. John Cardillo is going to join us. He was at the Ron DeSantis announcement last night. We'll hear from him on his thoughts on how things went. We'll hear from him at 7:30. At 8 o'clock today, former Missouri State Representative Paul Kurtman will be joining us on the show again today. Give it up for Paul. Excited to hear what he has to say. Paul Curtman is going to talk to us about the battle between Trump and DeSantis and where he stands. He's always got an interesting take on things. At 8:30 today, Daniella Pentsak is going to join us to talk about how targets in the Deep South apparently regretting putting out the LGBT tuck your, what do you call it? Bait and tackle, if you will, for a PG to PG-13 show. To tuck your ghibli bits underneath the swimsuit. Oh, apparently, targets that are in the South have decided to move those products away to smaller sections so that they don't offend their customer base. We'll hear from Daniela Pensac about that today. We're looking forward to hearing from her. You can text us today at 573-319-1586. Mr. Embry001 was asking the question. He's saying, isn't Ron governor of Florida? How can he vote to lower Social Security? He was in Congress, so he was able to vote. So he was a legislator for a little while. Politicians do love to make weird promises. My lovely wife, Stephanie Peterson, says over on Rumble. If you're over on Rumble today, I see 16 people watching us now. Good morning to you, Rumblers. Always love to give you a big shout out today because I know you guys have been growing like crazy. Make sure you send us a text message at 573-319-1586. And I have a quick favor to ask. Well, I would say a quick favor. It's actually kind of a big favor, but I'd like to work out a deal with a member of either of the I'd like to work out a deal with a member of the Cantina crew who is devoted to watching the show every morning. If you are an every morning Cantina crew viewer and you want to help me with a project during the live streams going forward, I'd love it if you'd get in touch with me. It's volunteer for the time being, but it could be something that could turn into a paid position in the future. So if you're interested in an opportunity to work a little bit more closely with me and my team, send me a text message either through the text line of the show or send me a DM in Twitter. My Twitter handle is AP4Liberty. And I would also really appreciate it if we had a Rumbler who's a daily Rumbler watcher who would be interested in getting a little bit more connected to the AP for Liberty ecosphere, as you might call it, the universe, and to do something for me on a volunteer basis during the show's live stream if you are a regular viewer and you watch the entire show typically every morning. So I'm looking for volunteers. And if you're interested in, in working with me and my team, my lovely wife Stephanie, and a great group of freedom fighters and patriots, then please get in touch. You can text the show at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. Again, you can either text me there or you can send me a Twitter DM, usually is the best way because that doesn't get flooded, at AP4Liberty. All right, what's going on? Cheeky Mare says that right now Vivek Ramaswamy is going to get her vote in the primary. So Representative Chip Roy of Texas, one of the more libertarian-leaning congressmen in the U.S. Congress, he was responding to the Ron DeSantis announcement last night, and he had some interesting things to say. He was interviewed by former Trump press secretary Kayleigh McEnany. Take a listen.
Election on abortion, on Disney, et cetera. How do you answer that critic?
Well, first of all, to my good friend Byron, and he is my good friend, I was proud to nominate him for Speaker of the House. Love working with him side by side in the House. And we're demonstrating that you can disagree on choosing who you're going to support in a primary and then come together. And we're going to do that next year to take on the radical leftist agenda. But Governor DeSantis, look, he's providing, I think, the leadership that the American people are sorely missing. And, to the point that Byron just made about what's going on in D.C. and the president, there were never cruisers before, there were never Trumpers. The Freedom Caucus existed and was getting created before Donald Trump got to town. This is a continuum. And Governor DeSantis was here, and he helped start the Freedom Caucus, the same Freedom Caucus that Byron and I are part of, standing up to the establishment. And now in Florida, he's doing the hard work of standing up for the people there. And Disney, he took on Disney, the 800-pound gorilla in Florida, when everybody said he shouldn't. And by doing that, he's demonstrating that he can stand up for parents, stand up for families, stand up for hardworking Americans that are getting run over by the corporate establishment. And the corporate establishment are the ones that hate things like Twitter Spaces because it's breaking their back. Governor DeSantis knows it. He's on the right side of history. He understands the culture war is the key to winning the future of this country and making sure that we can lead this country forward into a very prosperous future, positively and optimistically.
That's a really good point there from Representative Chip Roy of Texas, who was talking about Ron DeSantis in Twitter Spaces. Yeah, there was a lot of piling on from the left and from the mainstream media over what happened last night with Ron DeSantis's announcement sort of getting off to a rocky start in Twitter Spaces. That's what happens on the internet, is it gets overloaded whenever something's way too popular. It did get fixed. He made the announcement, and then of course later he appeared on Fox News to be able to solidify everything. But absolutely, people are going to pile on to that because it is a threat to the mainstream media. Look at what Tucker Carlson is doing. He's announced that he's going to do his show after leaving Fox News and go over to Twitter and do his show on Twitter. I mean, that right there, that is, ask not for whom the bell tolls, mainstream media. It tolls for thee. If you're getting a bigger audience over on the internet and on social media platforms, the fact is numbers don't lie. The mainstream media may still have a stranglehold on the information that gets released to the American public to a large degree, but that's getting smaller and smaller. I mean, look at the fight that we've been having over AM radio over the last few months. It was a very bitter battle, but the only reason why I think Ford bowed to the pressure from legislators, lawmakers, and from the right on, guaranteeing an installation of AM radio into vehicles is because the boomers, the people who still hold power, the Dianne Feinsteins of the world, right? The Joe Bidens of the world, the Donald Trumps of the world, they still have all of the money and all of the power and all of the real estate, and they're going to use it because they've made enormous investments into satellite towers and into transformers and into the infrastructure of the mainstream media. That there still is an establishment control over information in the country. And a lot of that has to do with the older generations that have invested into these platforms that do not like the competition that comes from social media that is taking away their power. I mean, for example, why do you think that Ted Cruz of Texas introduced legislation to mandate that Ford and all these other motor companies install AM radios? Well, it's not because everybody really loves AM radios. It's because a very, very small, very, very powerful portion of people in the world listen to AM radios and have also invested their hard-earned money over the years. I say hard-earned, but some of it was hard-earned. A lot of it was hard-earned, but not all of it. Their hard-earned money into these AM radio stations, and they want to see a return on their investment, or at least they want to protect their investment until they can sell it off to some clod who will buy it and then be stuck holding the bag. Right? A lot of times, in the corporate environment, what you're really trying to do is just not be the one stuck holding the bag, or whichever company it is that's on the outs, like a lot of investments. But it was a fascinating ordeal to watch the Trump supporters last night also apparently coming out strong with a Adolf Hitler reference. Apparently Donald Trump pulling a page out of the left's playbook. They were clowning Donald Trump's Instagram account and his Truth Social account posted a video that compared Ron DeSantis to George Soros, Klaus Schwab, Dick Cheney, Adolf Hitler, the devil, and the FBI, which some of those things do go together. But how Ron DeSantis and that all goes together, I have no idea. I did post on underneath this video over on Instagram last night just to troll a little bit that at least I did, and this was under Donald Trump's official account. If you go over on Instagram at AP for Liberty, I posted underneath it, at least Adolf Hitler didn't ban bump stocks. And all the Trump supporters are like, he banned the guns, he banned the guns. No, he didn't, you morons. He actually took away some guns from some Jews, not all of the Jews. But Adolf Hitler actually gave rocket launchers to children. So bully for you. That really upset them last night. But this video was actually pretty funny, where it's a lampoon of the DeSantis announcement where George Soros is coming in and nobody could figure out how to work the Twitter space. Take a listen. It's funny.
Everyone, welcome to our Ron DeSantis Twitter space.
Hello?
This is all fake. This is fake.
George, can you just wait while we...
Hello?
This is not the actual announcement.
We can all hear you, George. Can you just hold on for a second?
Hilfa, I don't think they can hear me.
I can hear you fine, George. Just speak to the
I don't think George knows how to use Twitter.
Hello? Can you hear me now?
Can I please make my big announcement now? Everyone just...
Hello?
Just shut up, George.
Can somebody just mute George?
Could you try not to cough on the...
Okay, so how are we going to take out Trump, you guys?
It's a pretty good deep fake.
Guys from the FBI, this is not a private call. This is a public Twitter space. Everyone can listen in.
God damn it.
Anyway, guys, we invited everyone to this Twitter space so Governor Ron DeSantis could...
Everyone just shut the hell up so I can make my announcement, okay?
You go, girl.
Wait, the devil is gay?
So what? Everyone in this call is gay. I happen to know every single one of you has a secret gay lover hidden in your closet.
Ich kann nicht zulassen, dass die Soldaten, die für Sie verbringen.
Guys, can we please just calm down?
So anyway, guys, I just wanted to announce that I'm...
Okay, I can hear the governor very well.
Shut up, Would you please shut up already? I'm running for fucking president, okay?
Oops. Yeah, we kind of already knew about it.
Know, Governor.
Congratulations, Governor.
Well, that concludes our Twitter space for today. Thank you to all of our...
Hold your horse.
Well, don't you ever be sad or reach out for me when times are bad. It's a little too early to be singing on that. I tell you what, I'm going to take a little break. The Dick Cheney cough. Taking a drink of water. I'll be right back. Okay, don't leave. I got lots more fun to go. John Cardillo is going to join us at 7:30 a.m. He was at the DeSantis announcement in Florida. We'll talk to him in just about 9 minutes. It's going to be good stuff. He's a big DeSantis guy. See what he has to say on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
I like shooting things, but whenever I can't shoot something, I like to cut things. My life isn't all about shooting and stabbing and cutting, though. Sometimes I have to do actual work, but when I work, I still like to have fun. And there's nothing less fun than trying to cut with a crappy knife. Thankfully, from the ancient sect of Christian knights, who also loved cutting and stabbing, comes a new implement that has received my personal blessing, the Templar knife. Like the ancient sword of Excalibur, you don't choose a Templar knife, it chooses you. You just decide what kind you want on the website first, however, and then order it online, and then it chooses you. The Templar knife comes in a variety of shapes. As a man of culture and taste, I have decided I will never use a terrible knife again. And thanks to the inspiration provided by this excellent product, I have decided to launch a new crusade against anyone using less than superior knives. Join me, brothers and sisters, by visiting uppercuttactical.com/pages/Templar-knives. That's a lot of slashes. For that, you'll need a Templar knife. For 10% off, use code AP for Liberty and join me in a quest for glory, for liberty, for Christendom, for the Templar knife. Get yours today. Fire.
Hello, this is Barack Obama, and let me tell you why Austin Peterson stinks, and you should never pay attention to anything that he has to say. First of all, he's a libertarian, and we all know libertarians are idiots. They don't realize how important government is to everything that we do. I recently became aware that Austin has opened up a libertarian shop at apforlibertyshop.com. Now, I'm asking you as a personal favor to me that you never ever visit apforlibertyshop.com. With all of the great Liberty merchandise there, the last thing that we need to do is to get people spreading this message around the country, because then they might start thinking that they don't need government. And that's the last thing that good Democrats like us want. So if you love democracy, like me, and hate freedom, then don't visit AP for Liberty Shop. Like I said, whatever you do, do not visit apforlibertyshop.com. I'm Barack Obama, and I approve this message.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. All right, well, I still got a few more minutes until my next guest, John Cardillo, arrives. So I thought that since Maria, our friend Maria Krabs, over in the live stream, asked for me to play that clip again of Donald Trump clowning on Ron DeSantis's announcement last night, I thought I'd go ahead and do that for you now. So let's head over to our little fake. Now, remember, if you're just tuning into the show this morning, good morning. Welcome to the show. Make sure you click that like button. This is a fake parody of Ron DeSantis's announcement last night, posted by Donald Trump on Truth Social and Instagram everywhere. So what you're hearing is not real, but it's a parody of Ron DeSantis, who's apparently being backed up by the FBI, George Soros, Klaus Schwab, Dick Cheney, Adolf Hitler, and the devil himself. So take a listen, and then we'll go get John Cardillo on the show.
Everyone, welcome to our Ron DeSantis Twitter space.
Hello? Is my microphone working correctly?
George, can you just wait while we...
Hello? Can you hear me?
We can all hear you, George. Can you just hold on for a second?
Hilfa, I don't think they can hear me.
I can hear you fine, George. Just speak to the
I don't think George knows how to use Twitter.
Hello? Can you hear me now?
Can I please make my big announcement now? Everyone just...
Hello?
Just shut up, George.
Can somebody just mute George?
Dick, could you try not to cough on this?
Dick Cheney coughing.
Okay, so how are we going to take out Trump, you guys?
Guys from the FBI, this is not a private call. This is a public Twitter space. Everyone can listen in.
God damn it.
The FBI has left the chat.
Anyway, guys, we invited everyone to this Twitter space so Governor Ron DeSantis could...
Everyone just shut the hell up so I can make my announcement, okay?
You go, girl.
Wait, the devil is gay?
So what? Everyone in this call is gay. I happen to know every single one of you has a secret gay lover hidden in your closet.
Führer, ich kann nicht zulassen, dass die Soldaten, die für Sie verkämpfen.
Guys, can we please just calm down?
So anyway, guys, I just wanted to announce that I'm...
Okay, I can hear the governor very well.
Shut up, would you please shut up already? I'm running for fucking president, okay?
Yeah, we kind of already knew about it.
Know, Governor.
Congratulations, Governor.
Well, that concludes our Twitter space for today. Thank you to all of our...
Hold your horses, Elon. The real president is going to say a few words. The devil, I'm going to kick your ass very soon. Hitler, you're already dead. Dick Cheney sounds like you'll be joining Hitler very soon. Klaus Schwab and George Soros, I'm putting both your asses in jail. And Ron DeSanctimonious can kiss my big, beautiful 2024 presidential ass. Trump 2024, baby. Let's go.
All right, well, let's see what John Cardillo has to say about that. I'm going to go very briefly to a commercial break, but not for very long, I promise. Don't leave. I'm just going to go get John Cardillo hooked up in here, and then we'll talk about the DeSantis announcement last night with a man who was there at the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericashow.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
American conservatism is distinct, like America is distinct from the United Kingdom. American conservatism's roots comes out of the Wild West, out of pioneerism. The difference between American conservatives and European conservatives is that Americans are cowboys. We are that God, guns, gold, and girls. It's wild here, and we should stay that way. We shouldn't allow a European version of conservatism to come and infect us here. We like it wide open spaces here, you know, deep in the heart of Texas and all that.
Hey there, it's your favorite Vice President Joe Biden. I wanted to talk to you today about the Wake Up America show, the best source for all your political news and commentary. But before I get started, let me just make sure I have all my notes in order. Okay, where was I? All right, the Wake Up America show. It's a great way to stay informed and make your voice heard. Boy, what was I saying again? Oh, right. The Wake Up America show. It's important that we all stay engaged and knowledgeable about what's going on in our country and, the thing. But hold on, where was I going with all this? Oh, yeah. The Wake Up America show. It's a fantastic resource. And if you really want to make a difference, man, you can sign up to be a monthly donor at wakeupAmericashow.com/support. Now, where was I? Oh, that's right, the Wake Up America show. So if you want to stay woke and support a great cause, head on over to wakeupAmericashow.com/support and sign up to be a monthly donor today. And if you're feeling generous, you can even give a donation in my name. Thanks for listening, and keep on keeping on, America. Come on, man.
Thank you for watching the Wake Up America show with my dad. Today, I'd like to share with you 3 reasons why you should visit Dad's online store at apforlibertyshop.com. Number 1, you can get exclusive freedom-loving merch designed by AP himself or me mum, Steffi. Liberty Laura has made some designs as well, and blimey, they are great. Number 2, most of these products are so wicked that they aren't even allowed to be advertised on Facebook or Instagram. Modern machine guns and a proper keychain. Plus, our Grover Cleveland t-shirt is so spicy apparently that leftists on Facebook specifically banned it from appearing on the website. Number 3, you're supporting liberty lovers just like you. Spend your money where you earn it, and you help me pups build a community that supports what you believe. Bloody hell, this commercial is running too long. Gotta run. Bye now. Don't forget to visit apforlibertyshop.com. That's apforlibertyshop.com.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupamericashow.com. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Hope you're feeling good. It's nice to see such a big audience. I know everybody's excited to talk about the big news today. Ron DeSantis of Florida has announced his campaign for president of the United States. A lot of people were very excited about that. Trump supporters,
No, God!
not so much.
No, God, please, no! No! No!
But I want to give everybody a fair chance, and I haven't decided who I'm supporting yet for president of the United States. I've decided to keep an open mind, keep my options open. I know there's a lot of people who are pressuring everybody now, but it's way too early, in my opinion, for us to make that kind of a decision. Although I do think there are some good candidates that could earn my vote in this race. And what's going on with the libertarians? Last night, my lovely wife and I, Stephanie, were talking a little bit about it because she always votes for the libertarian candidates. I sometimes vote for the libertarian candidates. It just sort of depends on the races and the dynamics. But nobody in the LP is running. See, if I was still a member of the Libertarian Party, this would be a time when I would say to myself, it's probably time to run for president of the United States again. Maybe it's time to run for president of the United States again. No? No, okay, all right. Well, I'll just stay out of it. Okay. John Cardillo is running a few minutes late, so while we wait for him to get situated and get into the show, why don't we go ahead and talk very briefly about some of the key takeaways from the sort of rocky 2024 debut for Governor Ron DeSantis last night, kind of a glitch-marred debut. Very much anticipated moment, right? It was he's been trying to kind of reset after a big drop in the polls that has been going on precipitously for the last few months. So it was very painful to listen to the 20-minute long, Twitter malfunction circus that was going on last night. The Daily Mail called it a disaster. Fox News called it a disaster. Breitbart called it a debacle. But then later, Mr. DeSantis appeared on Fox News and appeared to find his footing. But it will be a night that their team is going to be eager to put behind them, I would guess. Taking risks on Twitter backfired, right? The delay was longer than some campaign speeches in entirety, right? Twitter kind of wheezed its way through what was supposed to be Mr. DeSantis's grand announcement of his candidacy, right? There were long stretches of dead air, interrupted by kind of frantic hot mic whispers before they pulled the plug and then just started it over, right? So a presidential announcement is a very rare opportunity. It is kind of the moment when a candidate can draw all the attention on themselves and their vision. But Mr. DeSantis kind of wound up like a panelist at his own event, right? He was sharing the stage with Elon Musk and then the even malfunctioning social media site. Fox News splashed a banner that featured a photo of Elon Musk saying, "Want to actually see and hear Ron DeSantis? Tune in to Fox News." So, so even Fox News was sort of giving him a little bit of trouble last night. Now joining us live and from the sunny state of Florida? Where's he at? Or maybe he's at Twitter headquarters, and we never know where he is at any given time. Let's have him introduce himself. It's John Cardillo joining us right now. Good morning, former NYPD. Good morning, John. How are you, sir? Good morning, John. Can you hear us? Okay. I'm going to go to a very brief little standby as we get... oh, there he is. Okay, John, come... Hold on. 1 second, John. Yep. Yeah, that would help. All right, there we go. John Cardillo now joining us live. Good morning, John. Nice to see you, sir.
Hey, Austin, how are you? Sorry for the bad lighting. I'm in a hotel with terrible lighting.
No, it's no problem, John. We're just grateful that you're so generous with your time to talk to us this morning. So Fox News called it a disaster. Daily Mail called it a disaster. Bit of a rocky start. How did you feel about last night?
Well, I was over at the launch event down at the Four Seasons in Miami, and people in the room, it was pretty much a non-event for people in the room. Look, I think the mainstream media wants Trump to be the nominee because he's going to be far and away the easiest to beat for Joe Biden. I think people would have to be insane to believe these push polls, especially Rich Barris, people's pundit. I mean, the guy's become the Babylon Bee or the Onion of pollsters. It's a joke. I read one of these polls, and one of the questions, and I don't even understand the mathematics behind the weighting of the question. I forget who ran this particular poll. One of the questions, it was a poll about Trump DeSantis in the primary for the GOP nomination for president of the United States. And one of the questions was, do you watch Star Wars movies? So these are not serious polls, and this is a poll that's being published. These are not serious polls. And if you look at these polls, with the way they're weighting them is, a lot of it is about name ID. A lot of it is about, do you think Donald Trump was wrong? Well, even people that aren't supporting Trump would say institutions were weaponized against him. They were wrong. He was wrong to the 90th percentile degree. Well, of course, that's going to weigh in favor of Trump, but that has nothing whatsoever to do with electability. 9 months out from the first primary, from the Iowa caucuses, I think it's incredibly premature, and that's an understatement, to look at any of these polls. The bigger takeaway for me, Austin, is where was Trump yesterday? 2016 and 2019, Donald Trump would have held rallies. They would have been making noise. They would have tried to suck all the air out of the room. Trump was ranting on Truth Social. I said it on Twitter, like a retiree yelling at the TV, watching his stories. I mean, it was like a very weird, it wasn't the Donald Trump we know. The Donald Trump we know would have flown his jet over the Four Seasons in Miami, driven the FAA nuts. So they got the photo op. He would have done a drive-by. He would have buzzed the tower. Then he would have held a rally 6 blocks away and tried to suck the air out of the room. Seriously, he was in the basement of Mar-a-Lago, with his clicker, watching Matlock and Murder, She Wrote. So I really have no idea what's going on, but it was weird.
And cuddling with his Trumpy bear.
Yeah, cuddling with the Trumpy bear on a my pillow.
If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, good morning. I'm Austin Peterson. I'm speaking to former NYPD John Cardillo. He's also a Florida resident and a big DeSantis fan. We're talking about the announcement last night. I thought that DeSantis's announcement was fairly wonky. I mean, he got into some policy details. Yeah. And that's kind of the thing that Trump really avoids, which is fascinating because there's this dynamic that the mainstream media is kind of pushing, and that I'm hearing even from a lot of Republicans, John, that Ron DeSantis is Donald Trump, but he's the cover band of Donald Trump. That they weighed in the same pool of voters, and maybe there's some overlap, but there really is a very big difference between these two candidates, isn't there?
Yeah, Donald Trump talks and DeSantis acts, right? I put out a tweet yesterday. I was the biggest Trump supporter. You and I had argued about this over the years. I mean, we always were friendly, but we always disagreed on that. Or I shouldn't say always, but often disagreed on that. But it took me a long time to get here. Trump is a big mouth who trusts his enemies. He leans into them. He turns his back. Then they throw a haymaker. They knock him on his ass. And instead of punching back, he whines and cries about being knocked down and then raises money to hire other people to fight them. This is what Donald Trump's MO has been. And we just didn't see it because we really needed to believe his words. I was I was all in for him. I almost lost a radio show, a morning show on one of the bigger networks because I supported Trump when they were all in for Cruz back in 2016. I had people hate me for supporting Donald Trump, but I stuck with the guy. But he doesn't fight. He talks. But he's not a fighter. He's never thrown the first punch. DeSantis, on the other hand, all the guy does when he gets out of bed in the morning and throw the first punch at the extreme left, at the woke, at the people trying to groom kids. Trump's never done that. So Trump will sit there and tell us, oh, these are bad hombres, bad guy, Chuck Schumer, Nancy. Then he brings them in and gives them $3 trillion in additional spending. I mean, he caves every single time, which is why I ultimately fell off the Trump train. It's not about mean tweets or rhetoric. I grew up in New York. I don't care about that. It's just he just doesn't act. And he gets played. Yeah, there was 4D chess being played against him. His people were playing Connect 4 for dummies, while the rest of the people out there trying to take him down were playing chess. And look where he is now.
One of the key things that I think that separates them is the military experience that Ron DeSantis brings to the table. A lot of people haven't really talked about that much in terms of the contrast between
Yeah.
these two candidates, but we do face very serious foreign policy challenges going forward. We face, the massive threat from China, and we face a Middle East that's still in chaos and still a potential danger point in regards to terrorism for the United States. Is Ron DeSantis equipped to handle that?
Yeah, I believe he is. Now, I will say this, I'll beat Trump up all day, but his foreign policy was some of the best I've seen in my lifetime, and he did have the world in check. So you got to give him credit where due. All right. And there's no reason to believe that wouldn't continue. But I think he would make the same personnel mistakes and it would impede it like it did back then. But I think people underestimate DeSantis. Barack Obama was a state senator and a U.S. senator for like a week and a half before being elected president. And the mainstream media, this is actually funny now in retrospect, right? The mainstream media gave him a pass because I remember the headlines in the Post and in WAPO, the Times and WAPO, the foreign policy experience of Joe Biden. Joe Biden's foreign policy genius is bringing gravity to the Obama campaign, And little did we know, Joe Biden was like the most bribed guy in the world by all of our enemies. But I think that with his military experience, with his time as a congressman on the various committees, with having been deployed to Iraq, and things of that nature, DeSantis has a tremendous talent pool to select members of his cabinet, from which to select advisors, both formal and informal. He's doing it. I mean, there are certain meetings I've been to that are off the record confidential, but what I will say without betraying confidence is the level of talent in that room was mind-blowing, impressive, and really conservative America first. Not Marco Rubio conservative, the people we want. And I think people are going to be very surprised by the decisions DeSantis makes on personnel and some of his policy statements that are about to come.
We're looking in the past at DeSantis's voting record, and from his time in the legislature, he was, I think, a founding member of the Freedom Caucus. In regards to his voting record and how they score on Liberty cards, I think he's got like 90% scores with all of the groups that I look at, which are not the conservative groups, but the more liberty-leaning groups. Ron DeSantis is far and away one of the most liberty-leaning in terms of his actual votes in the past, which gives me some hope that if he were president of the United States, that he would hopefully maintain some of those credentials. Now, I understand why he picked a fight with Disney. I think, in my opinion, I think it's more of a campaign thing than a real stand on principle, because I think even Disney, if I disagree with them, has their own right to their own political opinions and shouldn't face pushback. But from what I'm hearing from a lot of constitutional scholars, John, he's going to get sued by Disney, or at least he's being sued by Disney. And he's probably going to lose those lawsuits because court precedent has shown in the past that you can't even take away a privilege from a company if it's done for a political motive, which Ron DeSantis, if he wanted to have, a sort of court proof decisions being made, then he shouldn't have made it so plainly obvious that his stances were being taken in a form of retribution against Disney for Disney's pro LGBT stances. I think he's made some mistakes there. Do you agree or disagree?
Well, I think it was initially political, but here's where I'll disagree with you. There's precedent in Florida. There have been other special districts rescinded, and that's where Disney's going to have their biggest problem in court, because Disney can argue all day long it's political. And what I think happened here, I think it was initially political, and that was clear. But when they dug into the special exemptions in Reedy Creek, which, by the way, people said DeSantis gave them those and he's taking them away. Those exemptions were granted or privileges in 1967, like years before the guy was born. So that's silly, right? But when you look at them, they are just a drain on the counties and the state. And so I think where Disney's going to have its problem is in the technical details. Other special districts have been rescinded, have been eliminated with the same protocol, the same type of board that the state wants to put into place. So I don't think Disney will have a legal leg to stand on there. I think the state reserves the right to pull that. And I will tell you one thing about this guy. He's a really smart lawyer, and he ultimately wins these legal battles. I've been in meetings where there were lawyers considered subject matter experts in their fields, whether it be defamation or white collar, et cetera. And DeSantis started going off and citing precedent and statute, and they stopped and they listened and they took notes. I mean, the guy is, I would say he's one of the smartest people that's ever run for president. When you talk about pure academic proficiency, that I've ever come across. And I've been doing this stuff since I'm 16 years old. Definitely, if not the smartest, one of the smartest. So I don't underestimate him, especially in court battles.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see how that shakes out. I do see it as a bit of a sideshow and a potential killing of the goose that lays the golden egg. I have been hearing that from some Republican legislators in the state of Florida that they're kind of wishing that Ron DeSantis would ease up on this Disney battle because, a lot of people do travel to that state for that reason, to go there to Disney World. A lot of my conservative friends are still taking their kids to Disney World because that's where they want to go. And, Mickey Mouse wasn't trying to turn their kids gay while they were there. So, I mean, I do agree that we do need to fight the culture war because I do think that politics is downstream from culture, but I hope that we can find constitutional solutions to society's ills. If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, I'm Austin Peterson. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you click that like button and subscribe so you can help us to spread the message of economic freedom and personal liberty. My guest joining me now, former NYPD John Cardillo. He's also been on lots of conservative talk radio as well as television, and he's joining us now. He was at the DeSantis announcement last night. So tell me about the general feeling of the crowds last night from DeSantis's people. I mean, fairly optimistic. I mean, how do people kind of see, I guess, how they're going to have to take, how is DeSantis going to take Trump on, I guess, is my question.
Well, let me go to the crowd for a moment there, because there's a narrative floating around on social media that it was billionaires and millionaires. And yeah, there were very wealthy people in the room, but there were also business owners, donors that weren't high dollar donors that they gave a couple of $1,000s, max, because they appreciated the fact that while in New York, people were being handcuffed and having their livelihoods crushed, that wasn't the case in Florida. And so the narrative that it was a bunch of billionaires, and yeah, they were there. They absolutely were there. But there were a pretty generous representation of just hardworking people that decided to donate because they were able to keep working. They were able to keep paying their employees and feeding their families. And so the overall sentiment of the room was incredibly positive. Nobody in the room cared about a little tech glitch on Twitter. There were some protesters outside, and the oddest optic was Laura Loomer standing with the pro-trans and BLM protesters in the rain like a weirdo. That was a good one. That was good for a few laughs inside. But yeah, but I think there's optimism, and he did very well on Fox. Speaking with the team, I think people, again, like I not to beat a dead horse, but as I said a few minutes ago, I think people are going to be very pleasantly surprised with the policy differences. And again, where's Trump? I mean, he's ranting on Truth Social about DeSantis. He's not presenting anything with a go-forward plan for the country. And the plan they did put out the other day, they quickly went dark on because they essentially stole DeSantis's legislative agenda and put it out as Trump's plan. And everybody jumped on it. And if you notice, they haven't been recycling and retweeting that document. And so I think we're so early. I said this to somebody today. They were like, he's got to do this. He's got to do that. I said, the guy announced 12 hours ago. Give them another day to figure out where they want to go first. One of the things I think DeSantis needs to do, Austin, is he needs to go out to the factories. Now, already had the fundraising announcement at the Four Seasons with the wealthy people. Now roll your sleeves up, go out to the Rust Belt and start shaking hands and kissing babies at factories. And, I would say that's probably
a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the Republican Party is becoming increasingly more blue collar over as the years go by. So I guess last question here, unless you want to add anything in addition to that, which I'll give you a moment for at the end, John. But I mean, Trump, whether or not he's ranting like a boomer on his couch from home in Mar-a-Lago online, he looms large. And when he punches hard, and people usually reel from these punches. And he's going to have a primary where a lot of people are very wanting to sort of occupy the space that Trump is. Probably DeSantis looms that, the closest there. There are some other attractive candidates in the Republican primary that are preparing to announce. I'm almost tempted by the potential of a Glenn Youngkin candidacy simply because I feel like maybe it would be nice to have a president who was boring again. I don't know. But I guess my question is, how does DeSantis deal with Trump? Does he do what he's mostly been doing before, mostly just ignore him? Because at some point, you really can't ignore the kinds of attacks that are coming down because Trump is good at controlling the media and getting us to talk about him. Quite frankly, he's interesting. And even I have noticed that when I put him up on, when I'm talking about him as the title of my show, you just get more viewers. I know that that's magnified over on the other networks as well. It's not the same with DeSantis. So how did DeSantis counter that power, that sort of electrifying feel that you get from Trump? A lot of people said DeSantis seemed a little low energy last night. how does he sort of capture the media? Because that is a primary, whether we like it or not.
Well, look, all good points you make, right? I mean, let's go to the low energy piece first. You and I have done media for a long time. It does get frustrating when there are tech glitches and you can't go live. The energy is really never as great as it would have been if you didn't have it. But, look, after people right now are worried about, they talked about it last night. The media is making a big deal of it because they have nothing else this morning. Nothing blew up, right? And nobody was found with a hooker in their hotel room. And so they've got nothing else to talk about. But people, normal Americans are writing up the lists for the barbecue for Memorial Day weekend. They're not really worried about a guy's, Elon Musk's $42 billion website not working properly for 20 minutes. So, but to that end, I think that there's a big intangible variable nobody's factoring in. And I'll be very serious for a moment. I arrested some very, very tough people, killers, bad guys, and they caved in the face of criminal prosecutions. No matter how flimsy the prosecution's case was, it was an exhausting, debilitating endeavor. You're biting nails, you're awake all night, you have a nervous stomach, you're not eating. Trump is facing that in New York, and he's most likely going to be facing that in Georgia and with the feds. Now, is it right? Is it weaponized? Of course it is. Is it a disgrace? Of course it is. I don't have to support Trump to completely, politically, to support him on this. But the fact of the matter is, it is what it is, and it's going to exist. And I have watched the toughest La Cosa Nostra capos crumble in the face of this kind of thing. This is going to be debilitating for his campaign. No army in the world has ever won fighting 3 or more fronts, right? So he's going to be fighting primary candidates, the Biden regime, New York, Manhattan DA, presumably the Fulton County DA and the Department of Justice. It is unsustainable. First of all, millions of dollars a month in legal fees. Second of all, it is debilitating. There aren't enough hours in the day to do it for one jurisdiction prosecuting, let alone 3. I think there are variables factoring into this race we haven't seen. The other strategy that is a tangible and that's been proving to work for DeSantis, even if just unwittingly, is Trump is by nature contrarian. DeSantis could come out tomorrow, with another tranche of far-right positions, and Trump's going to move to the left on them. He's going to keep moving left, and all DeSantis has to do is slide a little bit left to a more pragmatic but still America First conservative place. Trump will move further left. He's a victim of his own energy and inertia, and if you can harness that and use that almost like a martial art where you're using the opponent's momentum and weight against them, that's how you take them. And I think that people understand.
John, you are definitely one of the best resources for commentary on this race. That's why we're grateful to have you here. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with our listeners? Anything you'd like to plug before we let you go?
Nah, just follow me on Twitter at John Cardillo. I was long-winded enough, Austin. Thanks, man.
No, that was great stuff, John. And thank you so much for rushing back so that you could join us on this interview. I know my listeners really appreciate it, and I certainly do personally as well. I hope to see you sometime soon and shake your hand. Thank you, John.
Anytime, brother. Good to see you. Take care.
Thank you very much. What did you think of John Cardillo? Send us a text, 573-319-1586. We got more to go. Paul Kurtman's going to join us next. We'll get a Missouri take on things, not just from Florida, but how are people over in flyover country, like right here in Missouri, feeling like? I'm in Jefferson City, the capital of Missouri, the heart of Missouri, the heart of the United States. And that's why we podcast from here, the Wake Up America Show. We're going to wake you up. We'll be back with more on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Good morning to the Cantina crew. This is Elon Musk, the CEO of Twitter. And I just want to say thank you for watching the Wake Up America Show. I've decided that Austin Peterson will be the new CEO of Twitter.com, effective immediately. First thing to do, though, is I've got to go and blast off into space.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that at the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than
well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian.
And always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
And what is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
What would happen if I had to pick up the phone, call 911 for one of my family members or one of my neighbors? What would I do if no one was on the other end to respond? What if there was no 911? So you can be a part of the solution.
Anybody can be a firefighter. Male, female, younger, older.
We have school teachers. We have leaders in business.
Is me, you, anyone that wants to be. There is no typical firefighter.
Do you hate the deep state? Do you reject the Antichrist in all his ways? Do you believe that aliens controlled LBJ to assassinate John F. Kennedy? Did you know that the shot can put chemicals in you that will make you more sensitive to 5G? Do you love America? Do you want more freedom? Do you like smoking hot red-headed libertarians? Then the AP for Liberty shop is for you! Check out all the awesome new merch and have a happy new year! Fight the deep state, reject the Antichrist! Visit AP for Liberty shop and get your patriotic merchandise now, or the deep state wins!
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupamericashow.com. Did you like that interview with John Cardillo? That's some great on-the-ground reporting. He was there live at the Ron DeSantis announcement last night. But the whole country isn't all just California and Florida and New York. It's the Midwest who might help decide who becomes the next president of the United States. We're glad to have you here today. Make sure you smash that like button. It's time for us to talk to former Missouri State Representative Paul Kurtman. Paul Kurtman is no stranger to the world of politics. As a former state representative from Missouri, he's played an active role in shaping policies and representing the interests of his constituents. With his wealth of experience, he has emerged as a respected voice in political discourse, and he's joining us live right now. Good morning, Paul. Nice to see you, sir.
Good morning, Austin. Good to be with you again.
Yep. So I guess give us your reaction to the announcement of Ron DeSantis last night.
Well, I think most everybody saw this coming. He had been putting together a campaign team that has kind of been off in the shadows now, probably for maybe at least a year. Some of us were thinking he was going to announce a little bit sooner, but I think his timing is just right. I he's got a tough road to hoe, if I'm just going to be honest with you, Austin. I think he's got a tough road to hoe. I think Donald Trump has a pretty tight psychological hold over a lot of Republicans in this country. And it's going to be really hard to break through that because he's going to have to break through so much of what Trump experienced in between 2016 and 2020. And that was very personal for a lot of Americans. So he's going to have to try to break through that and put himself almost in that same class of victimhood of the left. I hate to say that, but he's going to have to show how he is just as big of a target of the left, and he clearly is. But this campaign announcement was a long time coming. I like Ron DeSantis. I like Donald Trump, but I'm glad to see that DeSantis is in the race. I think that we're going to see a pretty good contrast between two men who are very similar in many ways, but also very opposite in several ways.
All right. Well, don't hold back, Paul, because I definitely want to hear your sort of deeper analysis into that one, because the way you're sort of slow rolling us on this one makes me think you've got a lot to say about this one. So, I mean, maybe just give us the pros and cons here. And I mean,
Okay.
Go ahead. Just take it away.
Yeah. Here's a couple pros for Donald Trump. The guy gets in and he fights. He fights hard. The guy's a street brawler. And I think that that's really important to a lot of Americans because we feel like we've been bullied, bashed, and spit at by the mainstream media and the left for years. And we've been waiting for a Republican to come along and just be an absolute street fighter on our behalf and push back. We got that with Donald Trump, no doubt about it. At the same time, though, we saw that the left and the right attacked Donald Trump while he was in office. We cannot forget that his first 2 years, he had the whole government. Republicans had the House, they had the Senate. He tried to get a border wall done, and the Republicans resisted him. In fact, it was the Republicans who got the first investigation started to look into Russian collusion. So the Republicans are actually the one that launched all of these things under the leadership of people like Paul Ryan. So Donald Trump is certainly a polarizing and divisive figure. I think he represents really a minority of conservatives in the country. However, I think he's done a lot of the right things, and he's been that street fighter that we've needed. I think that Ron DeSantis has also demonstrated his ability to fight and fight hard, and he's done that on behalf of the people of Florida. The difference between the two is this. I think that Donald Trump is very distractible. And what I mean is he is such a target of the left. We saw what happened in Congress while he was the president. The whole time, it was nothing but impeach, 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 Russian collusion, impeach. And while we understand that that's exactly what the left is going after, at some point, hopefully we can break through that and we can actually get the government doing what the government's supposed to be doing, and that is looking after the things that need to be looked after, like our finances, for example, which, by the way, Donald Trump, I'm trying to remember, but like he added like $8 trillion, I think, to the national debt, Donald Trump did. And the inflation that we're seeing right now got started under Donald Trump. And that's going to be a big contrast point between him and Ron DeSantis. You cannot create and spend that kind of money, whether it's for COVID or anything else, without the fully predictable, even if unintended consequence of high degrees of inflation. Donald Trump and his spending, Donald Trump and his money creation machine got that started. And I know that we will excuse that and say, well, it was COVID. Nobody knew what was going on. When you don't know what's going on, I heard Ron Paul say this one time, when you don't know what's going on, that's when you have to cling to the principles of sound government the tightest. Because when you don't know what's going on, people are going to take advantage of the chaos. And on the other side of that chaos, you're going to see that government has expanded massively. And that's exactly what we've seen under COVID. And Donald Trump didn't have that figured out when COVID first hit. Ron DeSantis, on the other hand, is drawing a very stark contrast between him and Donald Trump on that exact point. Donald Trump voted for an omnibus spending package that Ron DeSantis voted against when he was in Congress. So I think that we're going to see these types of issues really bubble up to the surface, and it's going to force conservatives to have a much deeper conversation on the principles of the proper role of government and what conservative values really are.
If you're trying to get on the good side of my audience, a good Ron Paul name drop will always do it. Good morning. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. Grateful to have you here. Make sure you smash that like button and click subscribe on whichever channel you're watching us on this morning. It's nice to see a great big audience between Rumble and YouTube, as well as the many other platforms like the Freedom Hub app, Spreely, and many others that we multi-stream to on the morning show. Joining us now live is former Missouri State Representative Paul Kurtman. Paul, you mentioned that Donald Trump is a street fighter. But Ron DeSantis was, like yourself, a professional fighter. He served in the United States military, just like you did. Donald Trump didn't. Donald Trump received deferments from serving in Vietnam. Does the military factor here play a role at all for people like yourself?
I think the military factor plays a role for two different types of people who see value here. One is this. People will find value in somebody who's willing to serve in the military. No doubt about that. People will also find value in just the military training itself. So although Ron DeSantis, he politically speaking, he's a street fighter in his own right. No doubt about it. He's done a great job in Florida. He's pushed back hard against the left in this fight that he's having with Disney. One of America's largest, most loved corporations, and he's going to war with them over their positions on educating children in schools privately behind parents' backs on the transgender ideology. And a lot of people see that as a good street fighter mentality, going after them in spite of the tax benefits or whatever that they might bring to the state. Like he's attacking on the grounds of defending the values he campaigned on. Everybody understands that. Ron DeSantis also, from what I understand, he's the one that helped write the rules of engagement whenever the U.S. military had to go into Fallujah and pacify Fallujah after terrorists had taken a handful of Americans, literally butchered them and hung them up from a bridge. So Ron DeSantis has been key involvement in military operations. He understands the psychology of warfare. He understands the rules of engagement, what's going to work, what's not going to work, what type of rules of engagement we don't want, because then we're going to get blowback. It's going to be a much bigger problem for us to handle in the future. So Ron DeSantis has a strategic military mind, absolutely, but he also has a good legal mind because when he was in the military, he worked as a JAG officer, and he was involved in those particular roles in terms of combat overseas in Iraq, where he also served. So I think people are absolutely going to see value in that, and I think that Ron DeSantis, I think that we're probably going to see people who he's served with wind up rising to speak on behalf of him for his military service. So that way he is not in a position where he has to go out and almost kind of humble brag his way into letting people know what it was that he did when he was overseas.
Another issue related to national security is the border issue, which it's really hard to beat the bona fides of Donald Trump when it comes to border security. Most Republicans, I would say, believe in a strong and secure national border. And I think Ron DeSantis agrees with him, but it's going to be hard to kind of take that issue away from Donald Trump. How do you think DeSantis navigates those waters?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be hard as most people think. I mean, as the governor of Florida, he's taking illegal immigrants, putting them on planes, and in a real kind of power move, he's sending them straight to the doorstep of the liberals that are advocating for an open border. So if he wants to demonstrate his prowess on the border issue, he has certainly already been able to do that. And he's demonstrated that he is willing to pick up that sword and wage that fight on behalf of people who believe in a strong border. People like Governor DeSantis and Governor Abbott from Texas have done what other governors have refused to do forever. And they're looking for innovative ways, innovative solutions to find security at the border. And they finally decided, let's just take the border straight to the doorstep of the left. So I think DeSantis is actually going to have a really good talking point. He's going to have a really good device from his own experience that he can use to demonstrate that he is just as strong on border policy as Donald Trump is.
Yeah, exactly. How many immigrants did Donald Trump ship off to, to Martha's Vineyard? Ron DeSantis certainly pulled a strong ploy with there. Even the left was giving him credit on that one and how brilliant that move was. I hear from a lot of conservatives, though, under the table, though, that they do hire illegal immigrant labor because the economy is so screwed. I mean, the challenge that a lot of small business owners face these days is that with inflation and with the demand by the left to raise minimum wages, hell, you got Republicans advocating to raise the minimum wage, Paul. It's getting harder and harder for people to make a living. The problem is the demand for labor in this country is so high. It's not just that these people want to seek a better life. It's that just like with the thirst for drugs, the demand for drugs in this country is creating the supply from Mexico, just like the demand for labor is creating the supply of immigration. How do you kill the supply side without working on the demand side, Paul? Because if you kill the demand side when it comes to labor, you're killing our economy. It's a big problem.
It is a big problem. This is where one of these men, and I can't speak to anything that Ron DeSantis has done in Florida on this degree. Not that he hasn't, I just don't know about it. But I know Donald Trump didn't really wage this fight when he was the president. But one of the things that we have to get ahead of is this problem. And everything you're speaking to is the problem that has been created by the entitlement society that we have. The entitlement society, that's not the right word. The entitlement mentality that we have here in the U.S. It's really hard to get labor. When I was in the state legislature, the very first phone call I ever received, Austin, was from a man who was complaining that he can't live on $35,000 a year. And that because that's all he was getting between federal and state benefits was about $35,000 a year. And he wanted to know how he could possibly be expected to live off of that. And I said, I don't expect you to live off of it. I expect you to go live off of your own labor and your own work. But he didn't want to do it. He just wanted the entitlements because he found a way to qualify. And so we have to get ahead of this problem created by this entitlement mentality that we've created here in the U.S. by all these leftist policies being used to hold people down and prevent them from finding any type of economic mobility because they find security in the government alone. So that's something that both Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis, if they want to talk about the labor issue, they want to talk about cheap labor, they want to talk about us not being able to meet the demand for some of the jobs out there, they need to start talking about the entitlement mentality that's been created by all these leftist policies to keep people on the government teat.
That guy couldn't live off $35,000 a year, he says. The average salary in my town where I live out in Lowman is $29,000 a year. And those are people who actually earn their living out there. So that guy's living fairly high on the hog if he lived in my hometown. Paul, in regards to the entitlement, you say that these people got to attack the entitlement. And we know Donald Trump is a contrarian, so anything that Ron DeSantis does, he's going to run to the left of Ron DeSantis on a lot of these issues. And one of the issues that he's running to the left of Ron DeSantis on is the issue of Social Security and Medicare. Last night, the MAGA War Room released an ad that attacked Ron DeSantis for voting to cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid benefits here, which I imagine people like yourself and myself are more like Ron DeSantis on than we are Donald Trump on in this one. But guess what? Doesn't mean the American people are with us. How do you stay true to your principles? How do you cut the entitlement state when the reality is that most Americans are left of center on the entitlement issue, Paul, whereas you and I are actual true constitutional Republicans on that?
I think it was Rick Scott and Ron Johnson, two U.S. senators, one from Florida, one from Wisconsin, that actually put together a report, or at least they cited the report where they said everything needs to be on the table to help us get ahead of the financial disaster that is looming behind Medicare and Social Security. And they said everything has to be on the table. And Joe Biden actually cited what they said in that report, or speaking to that report, when he gave his State of the Union address, and he said Republicans want to cut Social Security, Republicans want to cut Medicare. And immediately, what does the Republican Party do? We do not want to cut anything. We don't want to cut any of these benefits.
No. We agree with you, Joe Biden. We're on your side.
And the reason is because the Republicans are running scared of people who are currently receiving these benefits or about to be receiving these benefits. This is where Republicans are failing to have the deeper conversation. Whenever I've talked with people in my district, I've asked them, who here would be willing to sacrifice to make sure that your children and your children's children have a better future? Everybody's hands go up. And then I usually ask the question, what if the only way to ensure that your children and your children's children have a better future is to cut your government pension by 5%? And I just ask that really just kind of as a psychological mind bender, because that puts them in a position where they have to decide, are they really willing to sacrifice, even if it's a small sacrifice? And usually at that point, what I've always discovered is people say, no, I'm not willing to sacrifice anything. Do I want my kids and my grandkids to have a better future than I have? Absolutely, but not if I have to give anything up. And folks, it just doesn't work that way. At some point, when the checkbook is running low, you have to start figuring out, what am I going to give up? in exchange for something else that's going to help me more long term. We've all experienced that. But Republicans need to have this conversation, but they need to do it in a way that they can actually connect with people and actually make sense with people and start pulling people into the fold of understanding we have got to get back to sound financial principles.
No, it reminds me of a story I'll tell you briefly. I was in 2008 when the bailouts and the stimulus were going on, and I think it was before Barack Obama had taken over the office, and George W. Bush was still in there. We were kind of in the midst of the housing and financial crisis, and I will never forget. I was sitting in that. There's a weekly meeting that goes on. That's kind of like the secret meeting of conservatives every week in Washington D.C. And I'll never forget sitting next to this guy, and he and I are scratching, notes back and forth to each other about the bailout and the stimulus, TARP, all that kind of stuff. And I was like, would you asking him the exact same question that you asked the people, your voters? I'm like, would you, he was advocating for the bailout and for the stimulus. We're both, right of center. And I asked him, would you steal from your kids or your grandkids, your retirement to be able to protect yourself and to bail yourself out? And he's like, he wrote back unequivocally, yes, he would, because, and that's the thing, people, they claim to care about their kids and their grandkids, but when the rubber hits the road, at the end of the day, people only really care about themselves, Paul. True self-sacrifice is very rare, and when it is, it usually isn't celebrated, and usually all you do is end up falling on your own sword, Paul, as I have seen, as you have seen. It's happened to you in politics. It's happened to me in politics. The good guys very rarely get their just rewards. It's kind of a sad commentary, and I hate to end it that way, Paul, but that's kind of where we're at, aren't we?
It is. You see, I mean, one of the things that I've learned in politics is most people would rather settle for feeling right than being right. And it's really easy to feel right when you're just considering only yourself. And you're only using the principles of self-preservation rather than the principles of good government, because you want to preserve our country and an environment of freedom and economic mobility for people. So, it kind of pits people when they have to consider themselves. It pits those principles against the principles that are going to be needed and required for their kids and their grandkids.
Paul, is there anything else that you'd like to share with our listeners today before we let you go? Any plugs?
Hey, I just tell you what, I'll just plug myself. I've got a financial firm that I own here in Missouri. I manage portfolios. If anybody wants to get on that weekly newsletter, or if anybody wants to reach out about any investments because the markets are volatile, they can go to prkurtman.com and find me there.
prkurtman.com. That's Paul Kurtman. He's one of the best guests that you can get in the state of Missouri. He's also got his own talk show as well. Check him out. Paul, hey, thanks for being generous with your time today, getting up early. We appreciate you, sir. Epic beard, dude.
Thanks, Austin.
Thanks very much. That's Paul Curtman. What did you think of Paul? Send us a text, 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. All right, well, speaking of plugs, I got to talk about my buddy John Burke's business, shellshockcbd.com. Last night, I took some after karate, and I have to say it worked terrific. Now I'm over 40. I'm 42 years old. You can find that on my Wikipedia page. So after martial arts, I usually get pretty sore and I'm struggling to walk the next day. Well, this morning, I did not roll out of bed and start limping. And I did work out very hard last night. These old bones, man, they can't take it. But thankfully, my buddy John Burke's business, Shell Shock CBD, has products that are safe and effective for you, both CBD and Delta 8. Now, what's the difference between CBD and Delta 8? Well, I'm glad you asked. Well, CBD is non-psychoactive, which means you're not going to get the kind of reaction that you might get if you smoke the devil's lettuce. And Delta 8, well, it's a little bit closer to the devil's lettuce. A lot stronger than the devil's lettuce, I've noticed. So I kind of save that for the weekends. But if you've got the daily aches and pains that you get from regular workouts, if you're like me and you're over the hill, then shellshockcbd.com is a great place for you to find products to help you to service your lifestyle. Now, there are gummies and things like that. And so for those of you who are watching your calories there, I might recommend something more like the tinctures that they have over there that you can get. Some of these are Delta 8, some of these are CBD. But if you're looking for something that is going to help you with your aches and pains, this freeze roll-on that he has, I highly recommend. Roll on, roll out, if you will. It's called Roll On, Roll Out CBD Freeze Roll On from shellshockcbd.com. Use my code AP, the number 4, AP for Liberty, to get yourself 10% off, a 10% discount. And here's the thing. A lot of you might be CBD or Delta-8 skeptics like I used to be. However, if you try these products and they do not meet your expectations, John is going to give you your money back. So here's the thing. If you take a risk today on a product, it's not a big risk because if these products don't work as advertised for you, you can simply ship them back to John Burke. He has a money back guarantee. So you really don't have anything to lose, which is why I endorse and recommend shellshockcbd.com. Use that code AP4, that's AP, the number 4, AP4 Liberty, and grab yourself some of those products today. My friend Daniela Pentsak is going to be joining us here in just a moment. She's awesome. She's cute. She's fun. She's funny. She's going to join us to talk about what? What is she going to join us to talk about, Austin? Why didn't you bring up your headlines? Oh, there we go. Target has removed some of the merchandise from their shops after a backlash. The Southern Targets, they don't like those tucking weird LGBT underwears things for kids. It is kind of odd. We'll talk about that when we get back on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Donald Trump, and I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
Step right up, ladies and gents, to learn about the coolest president yet. He's not just any old prez, he's Calvin Coolidge, and boy oh boy is he different from the rest. He was quiet as a mouse, but don't you underestimate his power. He knew how to handle money, and he didn't waste an hour. He cut taxes, lowered debt, and balanced the budget with ease. No wonder the Roaring Twenties brought such prosperity and peace. But don't take my word for it. Grab a copy of Calvin the Coolest President and see for yourself. It's a children's book that'll make you smile and help your little ones learn about wealth. You can find it on Amazon Kindle or get your hands on a paperback at apforlibertyshop.com. So come on down and get yourself a copy of the book that's making waves all around town. You won't regret it, so get ready to be floored because Calvin Coolidge, well, folks, he really scored.
I'm a public defender.
I am a public defender.
I'm proud to be a public defender.
80% of Americans accused of a crime will get appointed a public defender.
Everybody from a speeding ticket to capital murder.
For every dollar we spend on public defenders, we spend $3 on prosecutors.
Public defenders have to do pretty much everything on their own.
Social workers, counselors.
Investigating is another piece of it.
The average public defender holds 300 cases annually.
You never feel like there's enough time.
Public defenders have health issues all the time.
A lot of people give up and say, I can't do this work anymore.
Gideon's Promise trains, mentors, and supports public defenders.
There are a lot of people who say that they would not still be public defenders, but for Gideon's Promise.
It's fueled me to continue on in this fight.
Gideon's Promise has changed the face of public defense.
People see us as troublemakers.
Good trouble only.
We don't make it easy. It should not be easy to take away someone's liberty.
Ever hear the one about the frog? Put a frog in a pot of boiling water and it'll jump right out.
Here's my resume again.
But put a frog in a pot of cool water and slowly heat it up, and that frog will boil. It's a lie. But as a metaphor for us and all that we go through as veterans,
any real-world experience,
it's a story that rings true. We make excuses for how we feel. We push everything down. We tell ourselves the lie that it's easier to stay in that boiling water, to disconnect. And some days, maybe it is. But you've never been interested in easy. Make no mistake, reaching out is hard. Do it anyway.
I need help.
You're not alone. You've got this. You are not a frog.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
All right, let's get her started a little bit early. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. Good morning. Let's rise in freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. It's a great day to be alive. It's a great day for freedom. It's a great day to be an American. Well, every day is a great day to be an American, except for, well, maybe 9/11 and Pearl Harbor. And, well, there have been some days that have not been so great to be an American, but today is a great day to be an American. So let's talk to a real American, an American. Well, she's West Coast, so she's 3/4 American. Just kidding. She's full-blooded American. She's Daniella Pensac. She gets up bright and early, despite it being 2 hours earlier on the West Coast. Ouch, might be painful. She's a lovely sight to see already. Look at you, all dressed up and ready to go, Daniella. Good morning.
Good morning, and I can attest to it. People in the West Coast are a little less American than what you see in the anywhere else, really, in the United States. I will admit to that.
Glad to have you here, Daniella. Thanks for not being a commie, and we appreciate your insight on the news of the day. So let's get everybody's day started right with the big news of the day, and I'd love to get your take on it before we talk about the tucking Target controversy. Let's hear your take on Ron DeSantis' announcement last night.
Yeah, I did listen in a little bit. Unfortunately, I wasn't present for the actual disaster part. I managed to listen to the second part of it when they went back up. But I did hear a lot about it, and including on your show, that it was a little bit of a disaster. And I gotta say, that's rough. And it is unusual to make an announcement on a Twitter space. I was actually quite surprised to hear that, and it kind of went the way that I think a lot of us expected. It kind of fell flat, and I guess that's what happens when you try to tread new ground in making an announcement to run, and that's unfortunately what happened with Ron DeSantis. I will say I don't think it's as big of a deal as people are making it out to be. Technical issues happen, but it is kind of funny.
Yeah, no, it's very funny. Did you happen to see the Adolf Hitler reference that Trump's campaign dropped last night?
Yeah,
With him?
that was really creative. I love that. That was genius.
It was
That was
funny.
really well done.
It was funny. I did play it a little bit earlier on the show, and I'll play it after our interview today. But I did bring you on here today to talk about the big news, the Target controversy. There's got to be a really good way to alliterate this sentence here, but I haven't found it
Yeah.
yet. So apparently Target, after releasing their LGBT or their transgender-friendly kids bikini line or their kids clothing line, apparently some of the Target stores in the South specifically are having second thoughts about this strategy, considering what happened to Bud Light. Do you want to key us in on what's going on?
Yes. So yeah, Pride Month is upon us. So we're going to be seeing, I think, a lot of this happening, and there's going to be a lot of conservatives are going to speed run to boycott, I think, as many corporations as possible these next few weeks. But yeah, what has happened is that Target, it launched like a Pride collection, and from what I've read, they are pulling it nationwide, actually. I'm sure particularly in the South they're focusing in on it, but they're pulling it nationwide. And rather passive aggressively, the top executive said that the public and its customers are being confrontational and even apparently posing threats, although I haven't really seen any direct threats posed against any of the employees. But at any rate, they are pulling the collection, and the collection did include gender, like this pro-gay material, and it's specifically towards children, which is what makes it concerning. And despite the top executives saying this is good for society, they are pulling it. But I will say I am happy to see, and I will applaud Target for actually responding in a way that is befitting of a corporation their size. Customers are rightfully upset about this, and Target is responding accordingly. It is unfortunate that they do have to push this the agenda, frankly, but they are responding in a way that you would expect of a corporation to respond. And so at least, it's good to see that happen. And it's good to see that boycotts actually work. I've heard for a long time and for many years that boycotting large corporations don't work. It only works for local chains, but we're seeing it work in real time, and it's a little bit unprecedented, but it's exciting to see.
No, it is because of what's happened with Bud Light. I've been seeing some of the advertisements out there. Apparently, there's a rebate that you can get if you buy a case of Bud Light, which essentially makes the case of Bud Light free. The Bud Light is giving away beer to the people who are like to their distributors who work for their distributors. They're even buying back beer that their distributors have that's going unsold because it goes bad. I'm even hearing about shockwaves of this reverberating throughout the industry, which means that like some of their competitor beers might go out of stock because people are going to be drinking more of their competitors' beers. And I was shocked, like you, that this boycott has sustained. But there's no quicker way to get people to stop buying your products than to make your products gay. It's kind of like what happened to rollerblades.
Yeah, and I am really confused as to why they keep going with this. And not only that, I mean, I understand Pride Month is coming soon, so it's kind of expected. But I mean, some of these companies, I mean, they're going now. We're not even. It's still like a week and a half until June, and they're still they're pushing it already. I don't know if anyone saw, but like Google had their art display of like there was like this pro-gay activist, and people are saying, why is this? It's May. It's not even June yet, and we're already pushing this. Can't we just wait until June? That's the rainbow month. So yeah, and it's kind of like they're slowly going back a few weeks into May, then it's going to be April. And I don't understand. They think that maybe woke sells or like the rainbow agenda sells, but I'm glad to see that conservatives and red-blooded Americans are actually pushing back and showing them like, hey, look, this doesn't work on us. And hopefully we're going to see these companies respond soon. We're already seeing that with Target. And Target is a pretty, woke corporation. They've had a history with this before. I remember in 2014, 2015, there was like that gender bathroom discourse that was happening and how trans people could go in the women's bathroom. And I remember that was like that was a big deal. I don't think Target folded on that, but they are folding on this. So it's seeing that it's good to see that that this works, that this boycott works.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, good morning. Hope you're enjoying the commentary that you're hearing today, right now. I'm Austin Peterson. I'm your host. And my guest right now is Daniela Pentsak. She is a regional coordinator for Turning Point USA, a field coordinator, excuse me, for Turning Point USA. And she generously donates her time to get up way early from the West Coast to join us here on the Wake Up America show for her regular time slot every Thursday at 8 a.m. Although next Thursday she'll be on vacation. So if you're setting an appointment for next week, you might be disappointed. Just know that she will be joining us every week after that. This is her weekly time slot, and we give that to her because she does terrific on-the-ground reporting from some of the biggest news stories of the day. Daniela, talk to us about this other story that you brought up to me about this new trend of teens going sort of like doing this viral prank where they just randomly enter strangers' homes. I saw the video from the one that happened in the United Kingdom. Apparently that some people have been getting arrested for it, but talk about dumb ways to die. Fill us in on this story.
Yes, it should be Dumb Ways to Die. It isn't in the UK. This TikToker known as Mizzy, his TikTok is suspended now, last I checked. But what he has been doing and how he's gotten popular is that he's doing like these outrageous stunts in public. And one of them was walking into a stranger's home, and I'm sure a lot of us have already seen it on social media, that clip. If you haven't, basically it's just a video of him and his group of friends walking into a stranger's home in the UK, and he goes in and he sits down on their couches and kind of makes like a deal of it and then walks away. And he is being charged for that and being investigated for that. I don't know if he's been released yet or he's in the process of getting released. I know recently he was on a Piers Morgan's show, and he was talking about how UK laws are weak. And they are weak. They don't, it doesn't protect individual rights in the way that we have in the United States. I mean, in the United States, we have the Second Amendment. And if he had done that in the United States, the outcome would have been a little bit different, let's just say. So, yeah. And so he that's how he got his clout. That's how he got popular, is doing these outrageous stunts. And there's kind of like a trend, not just walking in homes, but just doing like putting yourself in dangers and compromising situations and just being a public nuisance completely. And there was other videos on his page of him just doing really stupid stuff like harassing people in public, stealing someone's dog. There was a video of him stealing someone's dog. He returned it later, but that's terrible.
Dude,
And
that is a
so
great way to get killed.
yeah, tell me about it.
Imagine if somebody stole your little fat
Oh
chunk.
my God. I can't, well, I don't know if they'll be able to pick him up right away, but he's pretty heavy. But yeah, no, I'm seeing like this trend just in general in TikTok and Instagram. People will just put themselves in situations, that are they just embarrass themselves in public.
No
But
kidding.
often,
Go
but
ahead.
they film themselves doing potential crimes. And that's the problem. And thankfully, at least he's been being investigated for this. I'm glad. I know he's had run-ins in the law with the law before in the UK.
Yeah, it looks like a big crowd of people have gathered over here on rumble.com to see us this morning. I wonder why. I wonder why. Could it be that we have a beautiful woman joining us on screen right now? No, when I'm here all alone, it's a little meager audience. And Daniela Pensac walks in, the room just lights up. Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you very much for tuning into the show. That is Daniela Pensac. She is a field coordinator for Turning Point USA, talking to us about the biggest news stories of the day. We're talking about a couple of big stories like the Target tucking controversy, the teen arrested after randomly entering houses illegally. But you've got another story here that I see a lot of conservative influencers have been reacting to. I haven't played the clip on my show because some of the stuff is kind of too explicit, I feel like. But apparently InfoWars has published this story about the brand North Face kind of jumping into this, where they unveiled this ad featuring a mustached drag queen encouraging children to come out. What the hell?
Yeah, it's pretty much what you've just said there. Yeah, it's an ad. It was released recently. It is a drag queen, a man in drag, and he's telling kids just straight up to come out this Pride Month. And I will say this, they are unique in other companies, and that this one just flat out lays its agenda out in public and tells you what they're trying to do, which is to, get kids involved in this movement, unfortunately. But I'm glad for their honesty. At least they're being transparent in their agenda here. So, but yeah, I've seen a lot of the like Ben Shapiro and everyone respond to it, and it is quite a disturbing ad, I must say. And I'm not going to be surprised if there's going to be another wave of boycott for North Face apparel, which I've never heard of before, but I think it's like active gear and active apparel. And I don't know why they decided to go with a drag queen for as their spokesperson for this ad, given that it's for active apparel. I would think more rugged individuals would get into their apparel, but who knows? Again, it's Pride Month, anything can happen.
No kidding. Pride Month, anything could happen. Daniela, in regards to the targeting of those who are underage when it comes to LGBT, this seems to be a very new trend coming from the left, that they're going after our kids, and not just going after our kids subtly, going after kids openly. Why do you think this is?
It's a good question. I think that does relate to the social acceptance of it all. If you give them an inch, they could take a mile. They don't often always, but they sometimes do, and that's just unfortunate reality of this. And look, I'm not condoning that we shouldn't allow for individuals to be gay or have gay marriage or even pursue the lifestyle that they want, of course. However, there has to be a fine line drawn at some point, and that has to be children. Because if we surpass that line, all hell's gonna break loose. So we do need to draw a fine line. And it is true, you're right, it is new. And that's why people are responding so strongly in the way that it is. And I'm glad people are. And like I've said already, just a few minutes ago, I'm glad to see that some companies, not all, but some are responding in kind, and they are responding to the reaction, because a lot of this, culture is pushed through private corporations. And so if we do decide to make a stand against it, they will go back, because at the end of the day, all they care about is your money. So as long as you don't give them money, we won't fuel that fire. But yeah, I can't say exactly why it's being pushed on kids now as opposed to in the past. But it's good to see that, in terms of people consuming goods, or whether that's getting involved in the school board or pulling their kids away out of the public schools, people are responding, and it's good to see that. And hopefully that will send a message to Americans and the people that are pushing this agenda.
Daniela, you have a certain bit of expertise in this area. You are a field coordinator for Turning Point USA, and you deal specifically with high school students. So you probably see some of these issues up close and personal. Do you have any anecdotes or anything that you'd like to share?
Yeah, no, especially here in the Pacific Northwest, there is a direct push towards this. Again, it depends on the particular region and school you go to, but yeah, I've heard and seen a lot of this happen. And a lot of us have heard about it, like especially as young as elementary school. We're seeing like certain books being pushed, certain curriculum, and a lot of it is targeting the LGBT. They're pushing LGBT agenda, and they're also pushing the CRT, or critical race theory agenda, which is also a problem. And it's kind of like the two-edged sword in that case, and that's what they're really pushing. But the most scary I've seen is that the mental health counselors, pushing a certain idea towards young people as young as like fourth grade, and telling them that they're non-binary when really they're not. And again, it depends on the region of the United States where you're at. And here in the Washington state, we have pretty strict rules as to how you should refer to students. So you have to refer to them to their with their preferred pronouns, and if you don't, you could get fired. So, and that's a major problem, because at some point you are fueling a delusion. And but we are seeing waves of parents, especially here in Washington state, pull their kids out of the public school system, and we're seeing the homeschool community really start to grow around here.
I mean, people like ourselves who have a more open-minded view when it comes to alternative lifestyles, Daniela, are really in between a rock and a hard place in some of these situations, because on one hand, we want to protect the rights of consenting adults to lead the lives that they choose, provided they harm no one else. But on the other side of things, they are harming other people by foisting their lifestyle choices onto children, and doing it directly, and doing it through the power of corporate governance. And it's something that we need to fight back against, right? But it's a cultural play, not necessarily a government one, although the government can play roles in certain things. So we're sort of in a struggle for the soul of the nation, if you will, right? It's really less about the machinery of government, although that it takes up most of our time in our conversation. And it's really a struggle about what it is that we truly believe, and what it is that we stand for. When I say we, I mean people who believe what you and I believe, because you can see libertarians and libertarian Republicans and true conservatives, traditional conservatives, who are really sort of stuck between these sort of two minds on this issue, where, like you said earlier, you support gay marriage, but like, a hard right, like a Groyper type, or a hardcore social conservative, would find you and your position to be degenerate. I mean, how would you respond to like somebody like a Matt Walsh, if he were here right now, calling you and your position degeneracy?
Yes, it wouldn't be the first time I was called degenerate for holding this position. Um, yeah, no, and listen, I get where they're coming from, and they think that's the most expedient way to fight this culture war. I don't think it is. I think that as far we need to protect individual rights, because that comes first. And sometimes individual rights means that you have to protect certain things that you don't want to protect. And that would include certain lifestyles, and I am inherently opposed to the idea overall to authoritarianism, because that, and yeah, like obviously, I don't care. Like, I don't really care if people are gay or not. I don't really care for that culture. I don't really care to go to like gay pride parades and see that, witness that. That's just my preference. But I recognize that that is their own individual right to pursue that lifestyle. And because I am more opposed to the idea of authoritarianism, that is more disturbing to me than whatever two people do in the privacy of their room, or their bedroom, um, or even gay pride parades. So, but like I said previously, we do have to draw fine lines, and that's more important, I think, than pursuing this like abstract notion of what the ideal lifestyle should be, because there is no ideal lifestyle, really. I mean, there are general principles, but it doesn't really matter how it looks like on the outside. What matters is that you're defending basic principles of Western culture and Western society, and one of that is protecting the most vulnerable in the nation, children, and we need to protect them from predators and the potential for predators to emerge. And so that's what I'm more concerned about than pursuing this notion of like what's ideal and what's best for I who you sleep with. I don't really care. I don't think that really matters in terms of the larger conversation, the broader conversation
But
in the
Matt
United
Walsh
States
says
right
that
now.
you are the problem, that the slippery slope has emerged because people of you like yourself, while you may claim to stand with them, you are allowing the camel's nose under the tent. And because you have allowed that camel's nose under the tent, now they are grooming our kids and now they are going to go after our kids and things like that. So it's people like you degenerate libertarians, who are the problem in today's society. That's what they say, right?
Yeah, but on the other side of the coin, people like him are going to promote a lifestyle in which you can't really pursue anything that makes you happy either, you
Right.
know?
It's the pursuit of happiness.
Exactly.
I
And
look
so
glad we just
yeah,
brought that up.
there's two extremes. There's obviously two extremes, to both sides of the spectrum. The ideal is to keep it in the middle, and that's what we're trying to discover right now in terms of
Right.
broader conversation. Yeah.
I like that you brought that up. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Yeah, we're not free if we can't pursue the happiness that we desire, provided that we don't harm anyone else, of course. Daniela Pensac, we're sorry that we're not going to get to see you next week. You're going on vacation because Hot Water 84 dropped a super chat. They're such a big fan of yours. Thank you for that, Hot Water. They love Daniela, they said, so we're sorry to lose you next week. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with our listeners before you go on a nice vacation?
Yeah, I will be gone next week, but I'll come back immediately after, so expect me. And other than that, just follow me on social media, Pensac Danielle on Twitter. I'm trying to reach a few more followers on Twitter, so follow me there. And if you're interested and if you like conspiracies, follow me on TikTok before I get banned. I've had like 7 videos flagged, and I'm surprised I'm still on there.
Yeah.
So help me reach 10,000 followers on TikTok. It's just official Daniela Pensac.
There you go. Follow official Daniela Pensac on TikTok if that's your thing. I'm a bit of a boomer on that thing, so I don't follow it very much. Daniela, hey, have a great vacation. Thanks for your commentary this morning. We appreciate you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. What did you think of Daniela Pensac? Send us a text, 573-319-1586. All right, I'm going to go to a very brief commercial break. I got to relax my voice for just a moment. And when I get back, a brawl broke out at the Chicago airport, leading to 2 arrests. The video was wild. I got to share it with you when we get back. My final thoughts on DeSantis versus Trump on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
Step right up, ladies and gents, to learn about the coolest president yet. He's not just any old prez, he's Calvin Coolidge, and boy oh boy is he different from the rest. He was quiet as a mouse, but don't you underestimate his power. He knew how to handle money, and he didn't waste an hour. He cut taxes, lowered debt, and balanced the budget with ease. No wonder the roaring 20s brought such prosperity and peace. But don't take my word for it. Grab a copy of Calvin the Coolest President and see for yourself. It's a children's book that'll make you smile and help your little ones learn about wealth. You can find it on Amazon Kindle or get your hands on a paperback at apforlibertyshop.com. So come on down and get yourself a copy of the book that's making waves all around town. You won't regret it, so get ready to be floored because Calvin Coolidge, well, folks, he really scored.
I'm a public defender.
I am a public defender.
I'm proud to be a public defender.
80% of Americans accused of a crime will get appointed a public defender.
Everybody from a speeding ticket to capital murder.
For every dollar we spend on public defenders, we spend $3 on prosecutors.
Public defenders have to do pretty much everything on their own.
Social workers, counselors.
Investigating is another piece of it.
The average public defender holds 300 cases annually.
You never feel like there's enough time.
Public defenders have health issues all the time.
A lot of people give up and say, I can't do this work anymore.
Gideon's Promise trains, mentors, and supports public defenders.
There are a lot of people who say that they would not still be public defenders, but for Gideon's Promise.
It's fueled me to continue on in this fight.
Gideon's Promise has changed the face of public defense.
People see us as troublemakers.
Good trouble only.
We don't make it easy. It should not be easy to take away someone's liberty.
Ever hear the one about the frog? Put a frog in a pot of boiling water and it'll jump right out.
Here's my resume again.
But put a frog in a pot of cool water and slowly heat it up, and that frog will boil. It's a lie. But as a metaphor for us and all that we go through as veterans,
The real-world experience.
it's a story that rings true. We make excuses for how we feel. We push everything down. We tell ourselves the lie that it's easier to stay in that boiling water, to disconnect. And some days, maybe it is. But you've never been interested in easy. Make no mistake, reaching out is hard. Do it anyway. You're not alone. You've got this. You are not a frog.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Have you enjoyed the program so far today? Good, good. A lot of people over here who are joining us over on Rumble. It's nice to see you over there. If you've been enjoying the commentary that you see, make sure that you click that like button and subscribe to the channel to help us spread the message of economic freedom and personal liberty. It's always fun to see the numbers between YouTube and Rumble. Most of the time, YouTube's a little bit bigger, but sometimes Rumble just blows it away. And that's happening right now. It's nice to see we had like 60, 75 people or so watching us here on the Wake Up America show on Rumble. If each one of you were to drop a like on the stream, I would be grateful. And again, subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to grow my Rumble following. I appreciate that. Thank you so much to everyone for participating. We had some great interviews with John Cardillo, many other guests. We had Paul Kurtman, Daniella Pentsak, and honestly, it's been a fantastic show. I'm going to talk to you very briefly about why I've decided to stay neutral in the Republican Party for now, even though I'm tempted by many of the candidates' offerings. Right, I want to just take a moment, share my thoughts on the upcoming Republican primary, and why I'm remaining neutral. The Republican Party boasts a wealth of talented and capable individuals who have thrown their hats into the ring for this presidential nomination. Governor Ron DeSantis and former President Donald Trump in particular have captured the attention of the nation with their strong leadership and their distinct visions for the future. I also like candidates like Vivek Ramaswamy and Tim Scott and Glenn Youngkin. Time will tell to see if they are able to gain any traction in this race. But it's important, I believe, for us as voters to carefully assess each candidate and to evaluate their qualifications, their policies, and their performance during the primary. Rather than rushing to pick a side, I believe in allowing the candidates an opportunity to present their ideas in the upcoming debates, which will shed light on their stances and their ability to address the challenges that we face as a nation. The beauty of our republic lies in the power of the people to make informed decisions. Each candidate should strive to earn our vote and prove themselves worthy of leading this great nation. Now, by observing their performances, we can better assess their character, their expertise, and their suitability for the presidency. So, as we navigate the Republican primary season, I encourage all of you, our loyal viewers, to stay engaged, keep an open mind, and tune in to the upcoming debates. Let's listen, evaluate, and actively participate in shaping the future of our country. Thanks for joining us on today's episode of Wake Up America Show. We appreciate your continued support and engagement. Remember to tune in tomorrow for our special Family Friday edition, where we'll be discussing issues more closely related to our hearts and to our minds. A little bit less politics, a little bit more fun, and a little bit more funny, like we do on Fridays with my lovely wife, Stephanie Peterson, who I miss very much. So I guess I'll just go ahead and go home to her right now. Lots of work ready to go for the rest of the day, though, as I try and build this small little media company and empire. I want to say thank you to all of you out there who are our monthly supporters, especially. Give yourself a pat on the back. If you're making a monthly financial contribution to the Wake Up America Show, I'm speaking to you right now. Thank you for helping to make this venture possible. So many exciting new projects are in the work behind the scenes that I can't even talk about that are happening because of people like you who are funding the continuation of this freedom enterprise, which is what we're all about. We're going to continue to grow and to build comebacks harder, better, stronger, faster, thanks to you. Mostly the Cantina crew. But we do have a few rumblers who have joined our monthly subscription as well at wakeupAmericaShow.com/support. Somebody joined today, joined Peterson's Patriots. So thank you very much. Give yourselves a round of applause for that one. I can't say enough good things about the supporters of the Wake Up America Show. I get excited every morning that I wake up to after my initial first 15 minutes of bleh at 4:30 a.m. And then I get excited to get in here and talk to you guys and hang out and to put on a great program and to talk to exciting people, movers and shakers in the world of politics. There's no other show out there like it, the Wake Up America Show. If you haven't already, make sure you check out my website, ap4libertyshop.com. That's AP, the number 4, AP for Liberty Shop. That's right. Libertarian Christmas is coming. You've got to check out the 4th of July shop. Everything's 10% off till the end of the month on the 4th of July shop at ap4libertyshop.com. Kermode Bear, Nelson 65, Grixis on Rumble, Blutreich, Nelson 65 is over there with us. Kermode Bear, Cries of Treason, Fed Up Kentuckian is with us over there on Rumble. Brandon Meyer, Robbie Thurman, Corey C, Chris Morrill, Matt Unruh, Tolly Owens, Studio 314, Joaquin, Dante, Dose Squid, Dahaikanen, Hikaru was with us earlier, as well as many other friends and my family. My beautiful wife, Stephanie Peterson. We'll see you tomorrow. Remember, every morning, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central, it's the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Stay free.
I like shooting things, but whenever I can't shoot something, I like to cut things. My life isn't all about shooting and stabbing and cutting, though. Sometimes I have to do actual work, but when I work, I still like to have fun. And there's nothing less fun than trying to cut with a crappy knife. Thankfully, from the ancient sect of Christian knights, who also loved cutting and stabbing, comes a new implement that has received my personal blessing, the Templar knife. Like the ancient sword of Excalibur, you don't choose a Templar knife, it chooses you. You just decide what kind you want on the website first, however, and then order it online, and then it chooses you. The Templar knife comes in a variety of shapes. As a man of culture and taste, I have decided I will never use a terrible knife again. And thanks to the inspiration provided by this excellent product, I have decided to launch a new crusade against anyone using less than superior knives. Join me, brothers and sisters, by visiting uppercuttactical.com/pages/Templar-knives. That's a lot of slashes. For that, you'll need a Templar knife. For 10% off, use code AP for Liberty and join me in a quest for glory, for liberty, for Christendom, for the Templar knife. Get yours today. Fire.
Hello, this is Barack Obama, and let me tell you why Austin Peterson stinks, and you should never pay attention to anything that he has to say. First of all, he's a libertarian, and we all know libertarians are idiots. They don't realize how important government is to everything that we do. I recently became aware that Austin has opened up a libertarian shop at apeforlibertyshop.com. Now, I'm asking you as a personal favor to me that you never ever visit apeforlibertyshop.com. With all of the great Liberty merchandise there, the last thing that we need to do is to get people spreading this message around the country, because then they might start thinking that they don't need government. And that's the last thing that good Democrats like us want. So if you love democracy, like me, and hate freedom, then don't visit AP for Liberty Shop. Like I said, whatever you do, do not visit aporlibertyshop.com. I'm Barack Obama, and I approve this message.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
It is better to settle these matters in the courts than on the streets, and new laws are needed at every level. But law alone cannot make men see right.